So I actually went to Nashville first, and then I was in Nashville for a while. But I just went from Santa Barbara partying in college and straight into pretty much straight into Nashville after running around San Diego for a year. Pretty much the same thing that most people do. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's pretty wild.
All right, we are here, episode 1, Motivation Invasion. I'm your host, Thomas Johnson. This is a good personal friend of mine, Brett Fick. Brett, how are you today? Oh, I am hanging in there, man. Just loving every single minute of our conversation ahead of this. So it's been great to kind of catch up a bit, man. And just kind of just keep doing our thing. We're
Yeah,
gonna
it's
kind
been
of
a long
expand on
time,
that.
man.
Yeah,
Grew up right down the
absolutely.
street from each other.
It has been a long time. And before we even get into that, let's give everybody just our quick spiels. So basically, guys, this has been something that I have wanted to do for over a decade. From working with kids and just battling myself over the years, and I've gone through that quite a bit as of late. Like I was telling Brett, I have made some serious changes, and we're going to get into that. But my biggest goal for everybody is literally like whatever it is you want to do, just start today. And don't try to take on the world tomorrow. There's methodical steps you can take, and we're going to uncover that. And that's really the premise of this show. As I'm continuing to go through it, and I'm sure Brett's going to continue to go through it, and everybody, in my opinion, will continue to go through it as long as they live. There's people out there like me that battle, things every single day, and it's my choice, and I have nobody else to blame for things in the past, but it's my choice to get better and make those changes. So again, that's the premise of this show. We're going to have really great guests like Brett on. And just hearing the conviction in your voice, dude, by the way, is so amazing, and the sincerity of the things that you are trying to accomplish. But before, again, we get into that, let's just hear a little bit about you, Brett.
Yeah, man. So I'm now doing Fick Fitness. That's my new company. But if you want to rewind back to where things first started, I was obviously growing up in California and running through a vicious cycle throughout my life. I found even through my late teens, trying to be a people pleaser, partying all the time, and I played baseball and I was an athlete, so I kind of got away with things a little bit growing up. And I'm sure you can relate to that being a high school athlete and college athlete, but
Of course.
just trying to figure out who I was for years and years and years. I definitely had issues with alcohol. Later down the road, had issues with drug use. Wasn't proud of the person I was becoming. I grew up, being a stud and being someone I was proud to be because I was a hard worker, always got good grades, and then I slowly started to see that side of me deteriorate through my teens, and it just got progressively worse through my 20s. And I finally found myself at 31 years old. I'm 34, about to be 35 in August, and it took a spiritual awakening for me. I always doubted myself, like maybe I'm not meant to be better than what I am now. And you always have this little voice in your head talking, and I just knew that deep down I could be better. And I knew that it was going to take hard work, and it also takes a lot of courage and humility. And I decided just to clean up my act. I stopped drinking alcohol 3 years ago. And I had a vision. And it's one thing I've learned from all the great people out there. When you hear about stories about people, they always have the vision. They see themselves no matter what, environment they grew up in, whether they grew up with no money, tons of money, wherever they grew up, even people from other countries I played baseball with, that, these guys became Major League Baseball players and they had nothing growing up. But they knew they all had one thing in common. They had a vision, and it wasn't a dream. They knew they were going to get to that point. So I started to learn from people that if I just put a vision out there of who I want to be, I'll become that person. So when I told people at 31 I was going to be a professional baseball player someday still, and they were like, "Buddy, you're washed up," and I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna figure out how to do it. So I started playing baseball for fun again. I never hit more than one home run, two home runs a year. I was always a small guy. I said, how am I going to get better? How am I going to prove to everyone that I can do this? So I just said, well, first off, I got to be stronger. So I went to the gym every day. I said, I can't be as fat. I'm too fat. So I got to eat better. So I started eating better. I started to ask people, hey, what are you eating? You look great. Um, Fast forward, a year later, hit like 20 home runs a year and playing with 18 to 20-year-old kids. And I'm at the top of the stat list. And I started to record myself. And I got a message one day from the Savannah Bananas. Hey, do you want to come play a game with us? You want to dip your toes in banana ball? And I just started crying. I was like, oh my God. I couldn't wait. I couldn't even wait to like tell people in my life. I was like, I did it. I'm going to go play professional baseball for the first time. I only got to play one game. And then I was supposed to go on tour with them. I ended up blowing out my back a week before the cuts. So, God gave me a little bit of grace, with giving me the vision that I wanted. I get to say, yeah, I was a professional baseball player, even if it was for one game. But it was bigger than that. It created hope for a lot of people. A lot of people in my life saw the journey I was on, and they were influenced by that to be better. And that's where Fick Fitness came in. I was going to do a life coaching, something like that, but for most people, I find that it comes with dedication. When you really want to change your life, you have to dedicate yourself to one thing. And then everything else around you seems to get better. And I thought, wow, I think fitness is that. People tell me all these problems in their life. I'm like, when's the last time you were in the gym? Or when's the last time you made yourself a healthy meal? And it just, you got to love yourself and take care of your own body before you can have that focus. And for me, it was getting rid of some of the bad things in my life, not just alcohol, drugs, toxic people, toxic habits. I mean, releasing myself from these demons. And, I know everyone out there doesn't believe in a, religion or some type of God or anything, but I always knew that there was a higher power out there guiding me, something bigger than me. And I just had to have blind faith that whatever I was doing, it was guided by something bigger than me, right? So here I am today, signing people up to join my fitness program. I'm charging them $300 a month to give them all their workouts, all the meal plans, all the shopping guides, mindset change. People get weak in the head. It's very common. I was one of those people. I'm addicted to podcasts. I'm addicted to reading books. I try and manage my time. I know you want to talk about that today, but I try and manage my time as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, and that's that the story is so similar to just things that I've gone through, and obviously we grew up together. We played baseball together. We've kind of had a similar path in those regards, and I mean, touching on just alcohol in general, man. Like, not only is addiction hereditary in my family, but it's also just something that I struggle with in general, and just trying, like we talked about, like trying to be the life of the party, or being that social butterfly of sorts, and that's such a it's such a waste of time, and once, like you commented on the fact of, look, you got to want to get better. You know what I mean? You got to want to change yourself in order for this to happen. You can't just say it. You've got to kind of go through that spiritual awakening, which I told you I had literally in the shower when I couldn't move, just feeling so down on myself. And this was just in February, like literally just in February. And when I made that conscious change and wanted to make that effort to actually be a valued human and contribute to the world in a very specific way, which is also helping people a little different than what you're doing. Like, things just began to blossom and really explode, and it really happened quickly. But that came down to a lot of time management for me, and understanding, like, if I appropriately use my time, and I'm not saying work 24 hours a day like I was at my 9 to 5 job, trying to make my deadlines, trying to be here, trying to be there. It was taking time for family. It was taking time with my relationship for my wife. It was taking time with going on my walks I do every single morning. And those are the things, honestly, once I started doing that, I was able to have a clear mind. You know, obviously cutting out the alcohol, which I still struggle with, man. I still go out, I still drink, but it is so far less that I am so proud of myself right now that I have cut down from literally drinking 7 days a week to I have basically a very small window once a week where I can enjoy a couple beers with friends. And that is it. And it's not even beer most of the time, because that's been hurting my stomach, which in return has been affecting my sleep, you know, and dude, being hungover, honestly, it is so hard. It is so much work to be hungover. Like, it's so freaking ridiculous. So, once I, you know, set out on this new mission, and basically what I do is I have literally 15 different companies, and they all touch on different industries, and they're all online. Because what I realized was my biggest goal was to be able, number one, always provide for my family, be happy and healthy, you know, healthy especially because the life isn't teddy bears and rainbows every single day, as I'm sure you know. But I wanted to be out, and I wanted to enjoy the things that I wasn't enjoying with the 9 to 5 job. So that's going to Mammoth, going to Yosemite, taking my wife to Montana so she could see some of those things, you know, traveling a little bit more within our means, and like I said, getting to family more. I don't see my family enough as it still stands, but I do make that effort very frequently to stay connected, make the calls, talk about the tough things maybe that are going on in their lives, in my life, and just really being present in all of these moments. And I couldn't do that with alcohol. I couldn't do that with, you know, various other things over the years. And when I look back at time, you know, one of the biggest realizations for me was I'm never getting that time back. I'm never going to get that time back. So I may as well, from this point forward, make my time here as useful as possible, be in every moment with a clear mind, and just move forward from that point, man. And I don't know if that's something that kind of speaks to you and things that you kind of think about, but that was a huge turning point. Once I figured out time and how to allocate that appropriately in a lot of different ways, my entire world changed. Entire world.
Yeah. If I could touch on time, a lot of people know me for, you know, baseball, fitness, stuff like that. But I'll tell you that not a lot of people know that my time allocation is very tight throughout the week. I'm actually the vice president of a major franchise group called Mainline Brands. We own one of the largest mosquito control companies in the U.S., over 540 locations. So that's been my 9 to 5, I guess you could say, for the last 9 years. But I found a way to create a position for myself where I get to work from home, and I only report to one person a couple times a week, the CEO of the company. And I've built, you know, the lifestyle that I want to live, so I can have that time and energy to go do other things in my life that I enjoy. I play baseball, you know, 2 times a week at night, sometimes in the
which is,
Federal
by the
League in
way,
Florida.
dude, by the way, I always try to watch your videos that you post of baseball. Dude, you are just smashing pelotas, dude. Like, It is
I
so
feel bad for these
incredible.
young kids, man. Yeah, what's great too is the guys on my team. Our team's called the Delray Nationals. We're mainly guys over 30 years old, and we'll go play these younger teams, even these like younger Latin teams with some really good Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Venezuelans, and they got some flamethrowers, and we got these older guys that are just crushing the ball. We'll win games by like 10, 15 runs and just wipe them clean. But I will say that, touching back on what we were talking about, my calendar is completely color coded. I know exactly, just looking at my calendar every day, what that 15-minute time slot to 90-minute time slot, by the color code, exactly what I'm doing for that whole day, just by a glance. I would get up to go to the gym some days at 5 o'clock because I know I got my first call at 8 in the morning. People like to make excuses why they can't do more things with their life. And this is one thing I've noticed with some of the clients I work with. A lot of people in this world have an excuse for everything. They say they don't have the time and energy. When they look back years from now, they're going to look back and say, I did have the time and energy. I just didn't want to do it. It's not whether they have it or not. Like, oh, I have 3 kids and a wife. And okay, what time do they sleep until? Well, you can get up 2 hours ahead of them and you can do whatever you need to do. You can build your business. You can go work out. You can meal prep. You can do all these things. You don't need to make excuses to create more time in the day. If you watch any, podcasts about sleep, like Andrew Huberman, some of these guys, they're talking about optimal sleep, 6 to 8 hours. Some days I sleep 5 hours, but because I take so good care of my body, I have extra energy to be able to be optimal performance throughout the day. But that takes time to get to that. I give all my clients the very first week they work with me one goal. I want you to get to bed 45 minutes earlier and wake up 45 minutes earlier. By the time they get to the second month, I have them waking up almost 2 hours prior to their other bedtime, going to bed early and waking up 2 hours earlier than they used to. Their whole world changes, because think about how much time throughout the day that people waste just on social media. How many people are working a job saying, I'm so busy today. Yet if I click on their phone and I open their social media app and I check their screen time and I see 5 hours, 6 hours on a Instagram or Facebook app, I'm like, shame on you. You do have the time. You're just wasting the time. You're not utilizing the time that you have on this planet. And, when you hear about someone dying, no matter how much money they have, what they've done in their life, doesn't matter. What's the one thing they always say they wish they had more of?
Time.
It's the only asset. Time and energy are the 2 assets that you can never get back. So, if anyone's watching this and gets anything out of this, that's the one thing I want people to understand, is that you do have the time and you do have the energy. You just have to get off your ass and do it. Simple as that.
Yeah, and it's so true. And one of the realizations that led up to understanding time for me, which you just hit the nail on the head. Like, I kept blaming everything else for the reason why I didn't have time, or I couldn't do this, or it was, it could have been anything, and I was always looking for that out, right? And it was so much easier to blame someone else, something else, be angry about it to no end, and just, okay, I'm gonna have a cocktail now, or I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna sit on the couch and just be lazy today. And I think that's probably my favorite part about this journey that I'm on, is I'm realizing, like, man, over that amount of time that I complained, that I wanted to blame everybody else. I could have done so much stuff, so much more if I just would have realized that it's me. It is 110% me, and I am the dictator of all of that time, and I am the one who gets to decide what I accomplish, what I'm going to get done, when I'm going to wake up, how I want to wake up, and just how I want to function throughout that day. And that has saved my entire world, man. Like I thought I was doing really well. I was working with a great company. We bought our first house, got married. I'm hitting all these steps that everybody says you have to hit these, and then realizing that I'm still not fulfilled. I'm not this person that I really want to be. And it came back to time. And then that's where that struggle started to happen of, this person is blah, 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 and my boss or whatever it is. And in reality, all I had to do was just recognize that it was my own self, and my time is so valuable to me today. And you're right, it is by far my number one asset, because I don't want to give away time doing things that aren't allowing me to be a better person the way I want to be. And that could be reading more. This is gaining that knowledge, right? I said that in my post the other day. My first one was being present in the moment, because you miss these moments and you forget about them, and then they drift off and it's like they never existed. Like, I don't want that, gaining that knowledge and building relationships. I think that's a really big one. And look, there's toxic people, and I think it's probably a good segue here. There's toxic people in everyone's life, and recognizing that is something that I have a very hard time doing, because I want everyone to like me. I want I want to believe in the good in everybody, right? But realizing that, hey, look, if you're only going to call me to do something unproductive that we're both not getting value from, and we're both not getting better with our ways or within our lives or gaining knowledge, like, I'm just not interested at this point anymore, because it's a waste of my time, where, as you said, I could be going to bed 45 minutes earlier, to get up 45 minutes sooner.
You touched on a couple things that I like to emphasize a lot now with my time. And again, I associate everything with time with energy. So I think there's a direct correlation between the two. So the first is choices. So every human being is born with the same thing in common. We all have choices. That's a God-given, like, freedom that we have as human beings. You can choose good, you can choose bad. Well, you can choose who you decide to allocate your time with. And I will say that one of the biggest life lessons I learned when I had the humility to realize I was hanging around the wrong people, I walked into an Alcoholics Anonymous room and just looked around at a meeting, and somebody asked me, they said, "Why are you here?" I said, "Well, to be honest with you, I need to find better friends." And this guy said, come sit with me. And he introduced me to like 50 people. And I'm still friends with a lot of those people today. Some of them are my best friends. And some of them are the greatest motivators in my life. And they lift me up. They don't drag me down. They never want to put things in my life that would jeopardize my success. And the other thing that I like to emphasize too about time is urgency. So have you noticed that whenever you have, like, let's say, for example, when you were growing up as a kid, you wanted to go play. Your mom said, "You ain't going outside to play until you clean that room."
Yeah.
How fast did you clean that room?
Very, very quickly.
That room was spotless, right? And
Absolutely.
Then your mom says, "Okay, you can go play." It's the same with humans when they grow up. Someone walks into a doctor's office. They said, "You're dying because of your weight. You've got diabetes. You're on pace to have heart disease. And I give you, 20 years to live. Or you can find a way to lose that weight. You can become healthier. You can eat right, and you might live 40 years. That person should probably want to figure out how fast they can change their body to become that person they want to become. You know, it's the urgency that creates action. And unless people have urgency and they realize that the time on our planet is really not that much. I mean, I'm 35. That could be half my lifetime. It went by pretty quick. Now that I look back, I'm like, damn, I remember I was just 12 years old playing t-ball. Where the hell am I now? I'm like thinking about having a family and stuff with kids. Like, this is wild. So, allocating good use of your time and energy. I think if that's what people really focus on, and that involves making good decisions. That's the last part of this triangle, is that if you constantly are making the wrong decisions for yourself, knowing that you're going down the same path, do you know what the definition of insanity is?
Yeah.
It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So, with my life before, I was going insane. I was thinking, what am I doing? And I know there's a lot of people that'll watch this and say, God, I kind of feel the same way. And it's it might be about your job, your family life. It could be about, I get a lot of these clients of mine in the franchise industry. They all tell me the same exact thing. I go, why are you looking to start a business? And they say, well, I want to spend more time with my family. I want to make more money. I want to do, it's the same answers every time. Yeah, that's all I got on that one.
Do you think monetary gains as a focal point, right, for your growth? I made that mistake back in June of 2020. I let, a price, which let's be honest, Brett, with the way the world is today, inflation, like, it's no mystery, right? Prices are up, things are in a bit of turmoil. It's incredibly hard. Chelsea and I don't have kids. So, and it's just her and I, and we're watching these grocery bills like, oh my God, and realizing that, I'm like, okay, this company wants to offer me more money, right? And that amount of money wasn't like, it wasn't that great, to be honest with you. It was just more than where I was. But ironically, when I got to this job, I was so miserable. It was like the worst choice I ever made. And I told myself, look, I'm never going to let money be a dictator of the things I'm going to do in my life ever again. So do you think money is something that people should focus on, or do you think they should be more of recognizing, like we're talking about, like that time and being in the moment and allocating things appropriately? Like, I don't work, I try, sometimes I have to do like a 12-hour day, right? But I try to keep my time allocated more to making my mind and my body healthy, because I accomplish so much more that way in a shorter amount of time. Whereas if I just came out into my studio here, sat down and tried to pull a 12-hour day, like I hardly get one thing done. You know what I mean?
Well, I will say money is a very important focal point for a lot of people's lives, and it has to be. I'm a big believer in adapting to your environment around you. And because of inflation and because of the things going on right now, I mean, if you bought something today, the cost is going to be 110% by next year. It's 10% inflation rate. So, think about that. That really stresses importance on making money. I will say a couple things about money that I've learned. I make good money. I have built this life for myself by creating multiple streams of income, because one stream of income is too close to zero. How many people are working every day going, if I lose my job, I'm screwed. I'm paycheck to paycheck. The only way you can create additional income is by allocating time and energy set aside to building something else. I'm working on 6 businesses right now. I have an arm guard brand, t-shirt brand. I have my fitness company. I have franchising. I consult. I do a lot of things. Should people stress that don't have a lot of money? I would. That's the urgency you need. You know, when I worked in the car business before I got into franchising, whenever there was a guy who was being lazy, the manager would look at him and say, get that man some debt. Because he knew under stress that guy would perform.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, money shouldn't control your life, but money, see, people say money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy comfort, right?
Yeah.
It does make you feel like you're not a failure. You know, it really does. You know, success through making money is still success, right? Some people utilize success to do good things with it. Some people utilize to do bad things with it. You know, you see some of these guys like rappers and stuff buying expensive chains and saying, you know, I made it out the hood and all this stuff. It's like, dude, good for you, man. I mean, I don't even know what it would be like growing up where you grew up, so I can't compare to that. But I also think you could set a good example for kids and say, listen, I'm also, you know, like look at LeBron James. I'm building schools or doing whatever. You know, you can do good with money too. So, and I think that if you really want to do good in this world, it takes money. You know, it does. I mean, you can do things without money to do good. There's, you know, simple things in life, but I think you can do a lot more with money. And it's proven. Look at every foundation, all these rich people writing checks for $1 million. Like, without those people writing checks, this is capitalism. We need those people. So I don't hate on rich people. Oh, the rich are making too much money. Well, those people are just doing something that you didn't do. They're the 1% of the 1%. I want to be that person someday. Will I be there? I don't know. I'm going to work hard. And if I happen to have a niche that gets me there, I will, you know, and then I also try and learn from the mistakes. Like when I take in information, I'd be very careful about what I want to keep and what I don't want to keep. If I see mistakes, like let's say I idolize someone, but I see some of the mistakes that they're making, I go, well, I love this about you, but I don't love this about you. And I do follow money a lot. You know, I'm big into crypto. I did crypto for many years now. I've been a part of a couple projects and, you know, working on some of this stuff. And, you know, a lot of people think, oh, crypto's, you know, either trash or it's the future. It's hot or cold. There's really no middle ground.
Yeah, there's like no in between there. Yeah.
No, it's weird. Either people love it or they hate it, right? It's kind of this weird thing. But, you know, my recommendation to people would be hedge. You know, a lot of the millionaires and billionaires are holding on to cash right now. Like I think I read the other day, it was like 35% of the you know, funds in these people's portfolios right now is cash reserves. So they're liquefying things. You know, that's not a good sign for the market. That means when rich people hold cash, that means they think the market's going to come down and they use that cash to utilize that buying price. I look at everything now with investments as buying windows. So, you know, buy at the low, sell at the high. It seems pretty easy, but how do you know what's low and how do you know what's high? Right? I still look at some of these tech stocks and I see it down, you know, 60, 70, 80%. I'm like, some of these things are still really good investments for people. Just because it's down now, you know, I always look at big long-term charts, 5-year chart, whatever. It's like here, you know what I mean? Like a little dip, dip. Like, so, you know, but for people that don't understand money, you better learn. If you want to make more money, you got to understand how money works. Like you can't make more money by not understanding how it flows throughout the market, or, you know, like
you can't make more money by sitting on your ass, and you can't make more money by never like dreaming big. And out of all honesty, and I want to rewind a little bit, because you talked a lot about multiple streams of income. Brett, I mean, you and I haven't talked in a long time until today, right? But we've said hi to each other on social media and things like that, just following each other's path. And you are so like 1,000% correct. And the people I tell this to, family members, close friends, just in passing in a conversation with somebody where we like kind of get in depth, which I love those opportunities in life. That sometimes they think I'm crazy, and I'm like, look, I have never met somebody that is what I would consider to be successful who does not have their hand in a lot of different things. And it's so true. And you said something, it was along the lines of having one source of income is too close to zero. Right. And that's an incredible thing. And I'll probably never forget that. But it is so crazy to me that people don't understand that. And look, you can put your money in stocks. You can have those types of things. That can be another source. But I'm talking about seriously generating money from something else that you're doing outside of the stock market and letting that just make money for you. Of course, we all should be doing that, right? But like every single one of the websites that I own, they all create a stream of money. And within those websites, there's about 4 or 5 different ways of money coming in. And it has been so hard, and some of them aren't even finished yet. And we're just kind of getting that process, but that has been my goal. So back to just money, and yes, money is I guess it's a level of success, but making money in a way that you honestly believe in, I think is a really good way of putting that. Because if you're showing up to your 9-to-5 job, then you're like me. If you're showing up to your 9-to-5 job and you're missing and not allocating time outside of that, then you are like me and who I was. And if you like that, then power to you. But I will tell you what, I'm 36, I'm a year older, right? And you're right, man. I have no idea when God comes knocking on my door and he says, hey, it's your time, and I'll be damned if I waste another minute doing something that I am not fully, wholeheartedly in love with, that I can't wait to wake up in the morning, that I'm willing to change my entire being to go and get. And I, like I said, I made great money, but I started from scratch in September. And this is what I want people to understand. I don't care if you have $0. If you have $0, go on Facebook Marketplace, type in free, go pick up things for free, go on eBay, look at what people are charging for it, and start your process. I will never not resell items. It is one of the biggest things I do to bring in a consistent income here. And it is so crazy. And back to time, I allocate time to do this because I know how profitable that can honestly be. It's a free item. It costs you nothing to get. Nothing.
Yeah, and I'll give some people out there some advice coming from the franchise realm. I talk with people all the time, and they say, Brett, I don't have the money to do this. And I talked to an 18-year-old kid today. He knew everything about pest control. He knew everything. He'd done YouTube. There's all these resources out there. You don't need the money. Just learn the business. If you need the money, there's plenty of money out there. Just in financial investments, there's like $56 trillion of money out there. And that's just in investments. There is so much money in this world. If you think you don't have enough, find someone who does and make them believe in what you want to do. You can YouTube anything. We are not in a world where you have limited resources. We have unlimited resources. You can literally do anything. You could start a social media account on your freaking cell phone, and you can grow a following by doing arts and crafts. Or there's a woman that lives behind me here in Florida. She sells purses on a marketplace on TikTok, whatnot, and some of these other Facebook platforms and stuff. And This woman sells more purses than the actual company who makes the purse in Florida.
That's incredible.
So I've heard so many stories about these things, and I'm like, guys, listen, everyone's got excuses. Excuses are like assholes, right? Everyone's got one and they stink. Like, it's just like, oh, well, I don't know how to do these things. Well, type it in, Google it. We have a thing called Chat GPT. You don't know how to do something? Ask it how. Type in, how do I do this into AI? And it'll spit out, if you want to do this, then this is how you do it. Done within milliseconds. Done. So, there's no reason for anyone to whether you're a teenager or you're 75-year-old man. I talk to people from all ages all the time about investments, money, all these different things. And you're either the herder or you're the sheep, the shepherd or the sheep. Which one are you going to be? Are you going to make excuses and follow along like the rest of the sheep? Or are you going to be a leader? My dad always told me growing up, and I'll never forget this. He said, Brett, be a leader, not a follower. I didn't raise you to be a follower. And that's something that really, I think, set the foundation for me. If there's fathers out there listening to this, you set the foundation for your kids to be in a certain mindset. When I ever got on a baseball field, my dad said, have the eye of the tiger. That was his thing. He liked saying, have the eye of the tiger. And I just thought, I'm Rocky Balboa. Here we go. I was ready to go to battle because my dad said, you better get out there and go to battle. And, that touches on one last thing before we wrap this up. I want to talk about like passion and purpose. There's a lot of people in this world who are seeking a purpose, and they'll get really passionate about something they think is their purpose. You look at this really messed up world we're in right now, and you see these people on the news. And by the way, I don't watch any of that stuff anymore.
Me neither.
The time wasted, it's just toxic. So, but the few times when I'm passing by and I see someone watching it, I'm like, I'll see these people who think they are doing good for a purpose, and they don't even know what their true purpose is. They just find some type of purpose that says, oh, I can attach myself to that. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not true purpose, right? It's not authentic. Like, I met this guy online. I followed his page. He goes around all over Thailand or whatever, all these countries in Asia. And his main purpose he found in life, because he was traveling out there, he saw slaughterhouses for dogs where they were eating dogs. And he made it his life purpose to raise money online to pay these people to shut down their slaughterhouses. That's an authentic purpose. That man found something put in his heart from God, right? Or whatever his higher power was, told him, this is your purpose. And I just find that so many people have these false purposes out there now. They want to be like, oh yeah, this is what I'm meant to be in life. Well, how deep of a dive have you really gotten? How much soul searching have you done? Because if you haven't had that spiritual awakening to realize, man, I tell people all the time, it's one thing I learned through AA. Part of the steps, when you go through the steps of AA, they tell you need to take a personal inventory. And it's hard, writing down all the things about yourself that you don't like, all the people you've hurt, all the fears you have, all these crazy things, right? And, they say it gives you the spiritual awakening. Well, I think a lot of people are going through their lives all the time, not having any sense of direction on how to find that. So how hard is that? Get a journal, write down all your character defects, put down the things you need to work on. You might find your purpose just by actually self-reflecting. And I meditate. I'll take time in the morning, no cell phone, nothing, just hands on the lap, deep dive into myself. What do I need to do today to better myself? Or what are the things I need to remind myself of who not to be, right? I don't need to be a people pleaser. I don't need to try and be, a better person than I am today. Like, I know I'm a good person. I don't need to beat myself up for the past. Like, I constantly remind myself about these things. So, if anyone's watching this, like, find your purpose and then be passionate about your authentic purpose, like what you truly are set out for, because that motivates you a lot. It does. Having a reason to have that passion, that's the driving force behind it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, man. And don't press. Like when I have found when I press, nothing good ever happens, and that's why I struggle with a lot of those things mentally, and because I've built a routine a lot like your meditation. Mine's in the morning, man. My number one thing I always do in the morning, I get outside, I go on about a 40-minute walk. It's about 2 miles, and that is my time. I reset. I remind myself of the things I want to accomplish, and I start my day on such a positive note now, realizing that I am exactly where I want to be today. And I have trust in myself, most importantly, outside of my belief in God, right? That I am capable of accomplishing and taking on the world as much as I want to put that time in. And that has been such a refreshing thing for me. Like I said, man, I'm starting from complete scratch. I want to prove that this is real. This can happen. You can do it. And like I told you back in February when I had my spiritual awakening, as we talked about, that wasn't that long ago. And it has already, I mean, it's tripled in the things that I've wanted to accomplish and what I'm able to now do because of that, monetarily, mentally, physically, all of these things. It to me, that is such an amazing feeling, and it's addicting. It is addicting, and now I can be disciplined because it's so addicting, and I'd rather be addicted to that than anything else on earth. Anything else.
Yeah, it's more rewarding when you know that you're putting the work in. Like, I always thought about Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, some of these basketball players, like how they were so clutch in the most difficult times. It's because hard work leads to confidence, and hard work comes with discipline. There is a direct correlation between those three things. Hard work is done through discipline, which leads to confidence. It can't happen in reverse order. You can't do it. It's a one-way street, right? So, I'm actually really proud of you, what you're doing, man. That's awesome. You know, there's always levels to life, right? So you're finally hitting that next level. And some people, like, they peak out. I was watching Arnold Schwarzenegger's new documentary on Netflix, and he said, even when I won Mr. Olympia 7 times in a row, I would, or Mr. Universe 7 times in a row, he said, I'd look at myself in the mirror and say, how could you win a competition with that weak body? He was the hardest critic on himself, and he was always finding a way to motivate himself. He would even make the other people in the competition his villain, and that was his way of motivating himself. Like, like a boxer going up against another boxer.
And people need to find that for themselves. That's like you and I training a kid, right, in baseball and saying, at 8 years old, hey, your kid's going to make it to the big league. We have no idea at that point. I don't know, those things for anybody other than myself, and I don't even want to try to know. All I want to do is give out that info and exactly what you're doing, man. And I am absolutely loving what you're doing. Like, you have a full-fledged, we have been friends forever, right? And you have a full-fledged follower for life because of the things you're doing. And I would have found you one way or another. You know what I mean? And that speaks volumes to me about what you're doing. So to finish this thing out, I want I want you to just let people know, how can they follow you? Do you have a website? Where can they go? How can they get in touch with you? And what do they need to do to hear more from you?
Yeah, so my main platform obviously is going to be Instagram at Fick Fitness, FICK FITNESS. I'm also I have a profile on the Trainerize app. If anyone wants to sign up with any of my programs, they can direct message me. I do have a Facebook page as well, Fick Fitness. I will be launching my own personal app here in the next 6 weeks. I have a brand new website being built out where people are going to be able to share their workout experiences in my program and be able to build a community together. We're even going to talk about going on some retreats and everything together and doing some, experiences together. And yeah, it's been a great time being on here with you. I've really enjoyed the chat, and obviously a childhood friend of mine, and watching you grow over the years, it's been a great experience here. And I wish you best with all these podcasts. I like what you're doing, Thomas.
I appreciate it, man. And everybody heard it, at Fick Fitness. It's at the top of the screen right here. If you don't know how to spell it, yeah, dude, I gotta get a couple routines from you, man. Like I said, I'm getting my mobility back, so I'm feeling good, dude. I can finally swing a bat fully and run, and that is a huge change from where I was in February, so I'm pumped. So we're gonna be talking a lot more. But Brett, thank you.
Yeah,
so much for coming
I got a
on.
special offer for the viewers too. I usually do $300 a month for my programs. I do all of your workouts with videos. You get meal plans, shopping lists, and I also do one-on-one coaching calls, text messages throughout the days, motivation. I send you, tidbits about like certain foods and substitutes, things to stay away from, things to look out for, how to read nutritional labels. And then I'm doing an offer for this podcast. If anyone signs up and pays in full for 4 months, I'm going to give them a full 6-month program.
That's awesome. That is so awesome and well worth it. I have seen the transformation, everybody, and it is incredible. And plus, like we said earlier, he's just hitting Mamos on the ball field right now. So if you want to hit Mamos, like, get on his level. But for real, just your motivation, I think, that alone, man, and just seeing the gains, both physically and mentally for you, I think people, they really ought to just give you a follow at the very least and see for themselves. The proof is in the pudding. Yeah. So if you guys want to see it, at Fick Fitness, go check Brett out. Brett, thank you again so much for coming on the show. If you want to hang out for one more minute, I'm going to pull us out here on the outro, and we'll chat a little more. But again, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Motivation Invasion. We have some exciting guests coming up, and I never like to disclose that on a show ahead of it, because I like to keep it kind of fun that way. But we have some really, really amazing guests coming on, some people that I absolutely idolize like Brett, and people that most of the world knows. So it's pretty exciting stuff happening over here. But episode 1 with Brett Fick at Fick Fitness. Brett, thank you so much. And everybody have a great night. We will we'll see you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. right here on YouTube.